Why does somebody drop out? Go along on this, you spend a lifetime on it, or lifetimes, and then boom, you drop out. Yes, you knew that was coming.
Oh,
How come, I got to ask a quick question here if you don't mind. How come you don't use your intuitive abilities more? Oh, I'm sorry for getting so personal. But gosh, she looked at me like, I'm going to kill you. I'm curious. You've got a lot of really good intuitive, really sensing abilities. How come you're not using them?
I really kind of did the woods thing, but in a different way.
Okay.
And I wanted to just dive within
Yeah.
and use them for myself
Okay.
because I started to tap lifetimes of always holding something for others or teaching in some capacity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you're kind of playing a little bit of you're doing a dance.
Right. Right.
And I thought, experimentally, what would it be like to just bring an energy for me?
Okay.
For me.
Great. Love it. Are you going to be
And-
using? You have very, very good intuitive
Right,
skills.
and then I hit a really raw, like even now I'm shaking,
Yeah.
physically raw period where I could not imagine going forth again until that sunk into my core, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's coming back, and there's a lot of vitality and inner discovery, and it's almost to the point where I don't, okay, I'm not going to say that word.
Thank you.
I'm beyond the mind to the point where I don't know where to apply it in this world, even in spirituality.
Right. Right.
Because you go beyond duality and then the game is over.
Yeah. It is.
So,
It's a tough, tough, tough place to be. And
right.
yeah. Good. So in answer to the question, why do people drop out?
I would say because the mind has been programmed for duality and it's never going to be satisfied.
Right.
It always wants something else to churn,
Yes.
to gear, to be programmed for. And if
Beautiful.
it's going to be another group
Yeah.
with another philosophy that I get to ponder for a while, and
Yeah.
it just goes on endlessly.
Beautiful answer.
And once you drop in the core of zero, no more duality, I'm done.
Yeah.
Then the game is over, the search is over, and then
But
the new
then what?
discovery begins.
Yeah.
And then it's, yeah.
You're right. The game is over. You're at 0 point nothingness.
Oh, yeah.
It's frightening.
Loss of every human passion you had, every spiritual passion you had,
Everything.
all goes just to,
And while all that's happening on the inside, externally, the human is super highly annoyed about everything.
Oh.
And overly sensitive about. You got this deep dive. You're going to 0 point within yourself, to nothingness within yourself. Everything is falling apart, and you know it. You try to pretend that it's not, but it is. You try to prevent it, but you can't. Externally, you're a bitch. So not you, but I mean, all of you bitches. No, you are.
thank you.
No, you are. And you have every right. No, you are, and you have every right to be. And if you're pretending you're not, you're really deceiving yourself. I mean, you are cranky, you are bitchy, you are overly sensitive, you're not pleasant to be around. You're just almost despicable, and that's okay. I mean, no, really, let yourself be that way, because inside it's all blowing apart. You're coming to nothing. It's like that.
Thomas, that's being recorded.
I don't give a. It's the best thing that others can hear. That, on the outside, you're almost offensive in a way. And if you're pretending that you're sweet, you are going to so find out what a bitch you are. Because it's very, very difficult. Nothing is working anymore. And to try to be sweet and sunshine and lollipops and love, it's going to be more difficult. You're resisting. On the inside, it's like you're nose diving. It's crashing to the ground, and you can see down there is the end. It's nothing. And you can't seem to stop the slide, and you try every trick in the book, and you come up with all this cliches and mumble jumble and all this other crap, and it doesn't work. You're going to hit bottom. You are going to crash. Or you can allow yourself to gracefully, in dignity, go into the nothingness of yourself. You get there in the nothingness, and you realize what a charade so much of it's been for so long. But then you're in that nothingness, and you say, what next? What next? And you're in that nothingness, and you realize you are realized. I'll go so far as to say something, and Caldra's trying to edit and spell check and proofread and everything else, and it's not going to work. Your realization comes in that nothingness, nothing. And it's so nothing, there's no black. You like to think that it doesn't happen there. You like to think that you are out for a walk in the park and it's a beautiful day and rabbits are running up to you and feeding out of your hand and all the rest of that. Realization occurs in the...
I was picturing you just
in the
frolicking.
nothingness.
Yes.
And then in that nothingness is that incredible point. And it's worthy of a movie, but I don't want to get into that right now. But you're in that nothingness, and you realized, oh, shit. I just had to let go of all the old stuff. I had to come to this point where it's just me in the I am. And the I am is a big nothing in a lot of ways. Energetically speaking, there's no energy in the I am. So you get there and it's like nothing, but yet there is something. There's no energy, but there is something. And if that doesn't strike a chord within you and remind you of when you went through the metaphor of the wall of fire into nothingness and felt the first I exist, it's very similar. But now it's just with you. And in that nothingness you say, why would I ever want to go back to me being a bitch? I got this human roaming around that's annoying and unhappy and body aches. Why would I go back? And you hear an old echo from the human within you, because I don't want to die. And you realize, I'm already dead. And it was nothing. It was nothing. And you hear that, but I made a commitment I was going to stay on the planet to be an embodied being. And it's like suddenly you go, that human was so stupid to make commitments and oaths and all the rest of that. I forget about it. And you're in that nothing going, do I really want to go back there? Now, a funny thing happens. Here you are realizing you realized. You're like, oh, damn, this is it, but big deal. I mean, and you realize I always was. Big deal. And suddenly, you feel the presence of a tall, dark, handsome, ascended master coming around, and annoying at times, coming around going, and now what? And now what? Do you want to go back?
No.
No. But back in a different way. Do you want to stay as an embodied human? Right. And then, and you might have to think about it. And this is a tough one. And this is what, you talk about cameras recording. This is what we're really recording. This is the most poignant moment of all. Of all. Your realization, it's going to happen. You're going to hit bottom. You're going to crash. You're going to go into nothing. What happens next is the uncharted territory that we don't know about. Everything else is scripted. In a way. I mean, not scripted as in every little movement or word or that, but everything kind of, it's in the book. You're gonna get to realization. We don't know exactly how, you don't know exactly how, but you get there. That's scripted. What comes next is not. It's not in the book. It's never been written. There's no chapter that has it. And as I mentioned to Caldra and Linda recently, we're finishing up on the last chapter of the book now in Kihak 8 and into part of Kihak 9. Then we go into the unscripted. And that we do not know. How do you react to saying, you made it. You're realized. Now what next? And it's not the decision you necessarily think it is. The human sits here and goes, oh yeah, but I'm going to stay. I don't know. But one thing for sure is that if you stay, it's going to be very different. And kind of as a heads up of what's coming next, it's all about living energy. All about living. And that's meant living as in alive, finally. That's why I asked the question last month. Is it passion or freedom? Or massion? Because I'm working with you on living energy. And that means several different things. Energy that's alive, not that's just stuck in a physical body. Energy that has vitality. Energy that has grace in it and dignity in it. That's living energy. But also now living energy. Living a life of energy. Not a life of running from it. Living energy. That's where we're going. Oh, thank you. That was a beautiful answer. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
No, it was the perfect segue.